bright lights. Good evening and welcome to the Empire Theatre in Belleville and the 2022 Municipal Election Forum for the mayoral and councillor candidates. I'm Jill Raycroft, CEO of the Belleville Chamber of Commerce. Our thanks to the Empire staff who are finishing things up here, but we want to keep on time. Loyalist College faculty and students and the Chamber staff who have helped behind the scenes. Thanks also to our Government Affairs Committee for their work reviewing issues and helping to decide on the final questions, and to all those who completed surveys and shared their priorities and concerns. Hopefully we will cover the main ones this evening, and while we appreciate there are some unique problems that may not fit with the general nature of this event, this is meant to give people still wondering what box to check an idea of whether the candidates' perspectives on major issues align with their personal hopes for this community. I would also like to thank all the candidates for coming. Election season is busy, and it seems every interest group and organization wants to know where you stand on their issues. Our questions tonight will come from surveys we've posted online, and hopefully the audience submitted initial questions when they arrived. I know we have the fishbowl upstairs. Our prepared questions represent our members' and community's concerns. For both groups, social issues such as housing and food insecurity rank highest. Healthcare is also in the top 3 for both our members and the public at large. Compared to 4 years ago, when downtown was a key issue, this is no longer seen as a priority on its own. More than ever, the voice of business is also the voice of our community. This is why the questions we ask in a debate are important, not because we expect a certain answer, but because a candidate's answer will be meaningful to many. Hosting the debate and candidate forums are a responsibility chambers across the country have taken very seriously for over 100 years. You will find our questions tonight brief. The issues of housing affordability, homelessness, healthcare, infrastructure, and growth are at the core of every question. So to keep things moving, we won't necessarily mention those as part of the question. But each question then offers the candidate an opportunity to speak to their ideas around these problems. We are leaving the floor quite open and hope this will help you connect with those who you have confidence in to seek action for their solution. Our event will take place in 2 parts. The first hour for our councillor candidates and the second hour with the mayoral debate. We have timed this to the second and you should be out of here in 2 hours. I would now like to introduce our president, Anthony Callahan, as the moderator of our councillor candidate forum and the mayoral debate to follow. He will offer further explanation on the rules of the forum this evening.
Thank you very much, Jill. So welcome everyone to our 2022 Municipal Candidates Debate. Welcome back to the Empire Theatre in general. Seems like we just had our provincial candidates debate back in May. I guess it appears that municipal politics interests people a lot more these days just by looking at the sheer number of people in the audience. So it's great to see everyone who came out, and we're all very much looking forward to hearing from the candidates this evening. As Jill mentioned, I'm Anthony Callahan from McDougall Insurance and the chair of the Chamber's Board of Directors for 2022. I will be your moderator here tonight, so let's get right into it. We're going to start with the councillor candidates for the first half of the evening and then bring the 3 mayoral candidates out for the second half. As Jill mentioned, each part should run about an hour, give or take. So candidates joined us last week and were present for the drawing of their order of appearance. Introduction videos were sent in advance and were available for viewing on screen tonight and are now available online. Use the QR code to link to the Belleville Chamber of Commerce YouTube channel. We will invite the candidates one at a time to come forward and answer one question to be drawn by the moderator, myself, and they will have 1 minute. We will then give them 2 minutes to follow up with their own platform. The debate timekeeper is seated in the front row and will display a yellow card letting the candidate know they have 15 seconds left, and then switch to a red card indicating their time is up. We ask that the audience refrain from comments during the debate to allow for our theater audience to hear what our candidates have to say. Anyone causing a verbal disturbance obviously will be asked to leave the theater, but you may applaud when you see the red card raised. That'll help them get off the stage. There will be no questions from the floor, but your program does include the email addresses for each of the councillor candidates, and you should reach out directly if you have a specific question you would like addressed. Okay, so let's start and let's get the candidates out. So if you happen to pick up a program, you'll find the list of candidates in order they're scheduled to appear. Each candidate, again, they'll be asked 2 questions. The first question, random draw from pre-selected questions, and then they have 1 minute to provide a response. The second question is an opportunity just for them to share their highest priority in wishing to serve as a councillor. So the order is follows. Number 1, we have Carol Feeney.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for being here.
Welcome, Carol.
Thank you very much. I'm not nervous or intimidated at all, but I'll be fine.
So Carol, you will have 1 minute for this specific question.
Okay.
Where is the greatest opportunity for the city to grow?
The greatest opportunity for the city to grow, I believe, is to demonstrate how effective our environmental activity is to help us demonstrate to the rest of our area that we are a green city and that we do care about our environment. Think about the storms that we've just recently had. It's there, it's real. And we have a very active Green Task Force and many others working to help in the environment.
Thank you, Carol. So Carol, you now have 2 minutes just to give us a general overview of your platform or why you've decided to run for council.
Well, I decided to run for council because I'd been asked by 3 different mayors, but I was working at the Quinte Arts Council and I didn't really feel that I had enough time to dedicate. But as I mentioned in my video, Belleville is my hometown and I care very deeply. I also believe in the opportunity to serve the community, and I think that council is a good place to do that. I also like to listen to people and their ideas and try to help them with individual things that are of concern, such as property standards issues or things like that, but also to work within committees and serve the city. And I love working with the city staff. They are very competent, and working together as a team, we help deal with things like getting more affordable housing and rental units, which I think is extremely important. I can tell you, door knocking, going to different places, and there's people that are senior citizens, but they still have their adult children living in their basement. And the other thing is we have lots of job opportunities, but people can't come here because they don't have any place to live. Also, again, doctor recruitment, we've done a really good job this term bringing in 14 new recruits for doctors. And we also made a decision 2 weeks ago that we are now supporting 20 new nurses. This is a very active and very important issue for council, and I would like to continue to work on that. As I mentioned before, I think the arts are very important for our community, but we need to look at it as an economic driver. Some people say, oh, there they are again with their hands out, wanting to have money. But I believe that they are a driving economic force in our community, and that we may take a different look at it in terms of having proposals from arts entrepreneurs that go through our economic development department, so that we use MAT taxes and whatever. So I'm not considering raising your taxes, but I'm saying using, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Carol. Thank you for going first as well.
Okay.
We'll call out now Mike Benson. Welcome, Mike.
Well, thank you for having me.
So again, Mike, I will ask you a direct question randomly selected from the fishbowl here. You will get 1 minute, and then you will have 2 minutes to go over your general platform. So the question I have selected, Mike, today is, what initiative would you support to mitigate the climate emergency as passed by council in 2021?
Well, Most of you know I'm a truck driver. So a question like that at this particular moment, I don't have an honest answer. I will not lie to my community in any shape, way, or form. If I do not know an answer, I will not answer it. This one is one of those questions. You can trust that I'll be honest the entire term, and I'll learn just like I learned how to drive a truck 23 years ago.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate that. And I'll give you 2 minutes now just to kind of give a general overview of your platform and any priorities that you would like to bring up.
Appreciate that. The reason I'm running for city council is I believe that Belleville deserves a voice of all groups, from your high white collar right down to your lowest class of citizen. Everybody deserves a right to speak. And I want to be that voice for those people. I want you to be able to come to me and say, I have a problem, and be reassured that that voice is going to make it to council, because everybody deserves that. When you hire me, when you vote, you deserve 110% from any employee that you hire, and that's what you're doing with your tax dollars. I'm going to give you that 4 to 6 hours a day, also as well as in the evenings for council meetings and anything else that can be asked to me, because I want to work with things like housing, trying to bring the cost down, because everybody deserves a good, safe place to live. Nobody should be on the streets. I don't believe it should be that way, and I want to see what we can do as a community to bring that together to make that happen.
Thanks very much, Mike.
Thank you.
Okay, next we were going to call out Sarita Van Dyke. Welcome, Sarita. So
Good
again,
evening. Before the timer starts, I really just want to welcome everybody. I also wanted to take a chance to thank the Belleville Chamber of Commerce for hosting this fabulous event. It's lovely to see that there's a full house. I wanted to thank the candidates as well too for putting their names and voices forward, and lastly, of course, not least, this community.
Thank you, Sarita. Okay, so you're going to have 1 minute for a direct question and then 2 minutes for a general overview of your platform. So the direct random question that I have pulled for you today is, what are your priorities for infrastructure investment?
So infrastructure investment, that's actually a great question. Economic development is very, very important. We know that. However, for me, before I paint the walls of a house, I need to deal with the cracks first and deal with the cracks in the foundation. So I think it's really important that before we're inviting people to our home, that we take care of these things, which is why healthcare, housing, and homelessness is a big issue. We need to have these things in place, in support, so that when people are doing their research to come to Belleville, they can see that there is housing and there's healthcare for their families and there's things available.
Great, thank you, Sarita. So now I'll just give you 2 minutes just for a general overview of any priorities that you want to bring to the table.
Well, I feel like now I'm just being repetitive, but for anybody who has not already picked up one of my brochures, I invite you to do so. Healthcare, housing, and homelessness is my priority. It will be my focus because I believe that that's where we need to be spending our time, period. My background, I think, as a nurse, but it's been in recruitment and retention. And I just feel like the reason why I've run for city council is I feel like perhaps maybe this is the season where the city council could use my skill set. And really that's for Belleville to decide, right? I do believe that housing is a priority, and I've broken it right down into low-income housing, geared to income housing, and affordable housing. Those are 3 things that are very important. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sarita. Okay, we will now call on Garnet Thompson. Hello, Garnet.
Hi there.
Okay, so again, Garnet, you will have 1 minute for your direct question. The random question I pulled for you is, how can the city improve recruitment and attraction of healthcare workers?
Well, the biggest thing we have to do is really, the city's really made massive movements in the last number of years. We've put funds aside for doctors. Now we're putting funds aside for nurses. And then, you know, from there, we have to really look at the government to look at the regulations of bringing in doctors and nurses from other countries that at this point in time, they have to go back to school, take some courses. Maybe we need to, the government needs to look at those regulations and say, how can we put those people on board to look after our health care? Because some of those doctors and nurses are as well trained as our doctors and nurses, and they just need a little bit of upgrading, some courses on it, but we need to put them into the workforce quicker.
Thank you, Garnet. So I'll now give you 2 minutes, Garnet, to just give a general overview of your platform and why you're running for council again.
I want to thank everybody for coming here tonight. It's been my pleasure to serve as a councillor for the last number of years. The city I've grown with the people. You know, there's two things that's really fairly important for me, and it's communication with the public. I like to work with the public. I like to get out to events. I like to be seen, because I think as a councillor, one of the more important parts is to communicate with the citizens of Belleville, what they're doing, get out to their functions, get out to their fundraisers, and the councillors and the mayors to show their support for their particular event, because every event is important. So that's been one of my focuses over the years, and people have called me Mr. Belleville, and that's because I like to get out to events. I like to talk to the people. In the last 4 or 5 days, I bet you I shielded probably a dozen questions for concerns. The other thing that I really would like to look at now is the waterfront. You know, the last term, the term just not one, the one before this, we brought up the idea of waterfront. We had some drawings done by past Mark Fleur, who is our recreation director. I'd like to go back and say we got a beautiful waterfront. Why are we not developing it? Housing is always an issue, always will be an issue. And you know, Lilas College is important to us. They bring in a lot of immigrants to go to school, which causing some of our housing. But the waterfront is so important. And the other thing that I've heard in the last few days is our sewer and water rates. That is so important. We need to make sure that we're not overcharging. And if anybody's heard me, there isn't a budget go by that I don't bring up sewer and water. Please vote for Garnet Thompson, October 24th.
Thanks very much, Garnet. Okay, we'll call upon Lisa Ann Chatton.
Good evening. I'm Lisa Ann.
Hello, Lisa. Lisa Ann, sorry. So Lisa, you will have 1 minute for your first question, the random question I pulled. What actions would you support to deal with homelessness?
All of them.
Good answer.
Quite frankly, I think that our homelessness problem in our region is easily solvable with collaboration. I think that we need to be looking to other municipalities and find out what they've been doing in order to emulate that, to help solve this issue. And I think there's a lot of other areas that we can reach out to, including our provincial government, including our federal government. We need to problem solve this. It's definitely a problem for Belleville.
Great, thank you. So now, Lisa, we'll give you 2 minutes just for kind of a general overview of your platform and any priorities you want to bring up.
Sure, thank you. So I am a school board trustee currently. I was elected in 2018 to represent Belleville and Thurlow with the Hastings and Prince Edward District School Board. And during that time, I've taken that role very, very seriously. I also am an association member for the Ontario School Board Association, and that gives governance for the entirety of the province for school boards. Something that I think is missing with our housing issue is that we're only looking at the homelessness problem. I think we need to be looking at what we're going to do for our aging and senior populations. I think we're going to need to take a look at first home buyers issues, our children, whether they're going to be able to afford or attain housing without having co-signers, without having a hand up, because not everybody has that. I think we need to address things more so again, collaboratively. You're going to see that throughout my entire platform. Mental health and medical services need to be more accessible. We need to bring more people in. That also has to do with housing, as you've already heard from other candidates. They go hand in hand. We can't just have more housing and no services for those people that are moving into the area and for people who are aging in the area, in the region. We need to retain our medical staff, not just attract. We need to keep people linked up with resources, with mental health. That's something that I find very, very poorly lacking in this region. We do have options, and I would like to see more of them coming to the forefront. I also run Crime Stoppers Quinte for this region, so I have a unique perspective on crime trends in the area. And I think that we need to have a lot safer communities through utilizing, again, collaborative opportunities with other agencies rather than just relying on police services to do things that are outside of their scope. They need to be focusing on criminal acts, and we can utilize other agencies to look after other things that are not criminal in nature.
Great. Thanks very much, Lisa Ann.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, we're going to call up Barb Enright Miller.
I am vertically challenged, so the mic has to come down. Hi, everybody. Thank you.
Hello, Barb.
Hi, Anthony. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing tonight?
Good, thank you.
So, Barb, the first question I have for you, and you have 1 minute. What initiative would you support to mitigate the climate emergency as passed by council in 2021?
Could you pull another question, possibly, Anthony?
I wish I could.
I wish you could too. The climate initiative, wow, greenhouses, climate change. We've all seen the storms, folks. We've lived through them. There's something happening. We need to get to the bottom of it. We need to research, see what other municipalities and cities are doing for their climate initiatives, green initiatives. I honestly, I don't have all the answers for you for that, but certainly willing to look into it and see what can be done for our climate, because it's so important.
Great. Thanks very much, Barb. So now, Barb, I'll give you 2 minutes just to kind of give a general overview of your platform and any priorities you want to bring up.
Thanks, Anthony. So first, let me say that all current and past councils should be commended for the work they've done on our behalf to get us to this point, because we all know the last 2 years have not been easy. I know all issues facing Belleville Council are equally important, but they all impact our residents on different levels and in different capacities. The most important thing I think we need to focus on is keep the momentum going. We have all realized great momentum this far with the past councils. Healthcare and the doctor recruitment program, nurse practitioners and using them to fill the gaps and the shortages that we find ourselves in, affordable, sustainable homes for our young people, elderly folks, and those that just need our help. The homeless in our city and programs to get them reintegrated to our society and get them places to live with possible work share programs. Infrastructure and maintenance of our city facilities, roads, and buildings, all while keeping our tax base maintained. Let growth that is coming to our city, which is inevitable, we can't stop it, let the infrastructure pay for itself through the growth. We can't go backwards. We need to keep moving forward responsibly, both fiscally and morally. Let our local developers keep building sustainable, affordable neighborhoods with good green initiatives. City Hall's made great progress by eliminating a lot of the red tape to allow this to happen. We need to focus on moving forward by being environmentally friendly with both our urban and rural landscape through well thought out green initiatives. Our heritage, arts, and entertainment platforms are so important. We want Belleville to be a destination. We have so much to offer with our waterfront and our diverse cultures. We need to implement more for families and people to do and be involved with. We want our talent and young people to stay here in Belleville, to be able to buy homes, rent homes.
Thank you, Barb.
work and raise. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Barb. It's great. Great. So next we'll call out Margaret Sue. Hello, Margaret. So again, I will give you one direct question and you will have 1 minute for that. So the random question I pulled, Margaret, is what are your priorities for infrastructure investment?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Margaret Sue. I am very much interested in infrastructure in Belleville. Let's be creative to meet new goals. Over the next term of council, the portion of persons purchasing electric vehicles will approach 40%. I will look to get more recharging stations near parks and recreation sites, local retail businesses to improve our city. Recharge to recharge. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Margaret. So now, Margaret, I'll give you just 2 minutes to give a general overview of your platform.
The greatest issue of importance facing Belleville is the need for qualified employees. Too many employers are in desperate need of employees. I see the part of the solution as promoting strong inclusion and harmony for people as Belleville transition towards greater diversity in the coming years. Belleville's 2021 census shows 13% of Belleville's population identifies as diverse, and this will continue to grow towards the provincial average in coming years. Our community needs to develop a successful transition by encouraging cultural celebrations and focusing on shared values of family economic growth. One reason I'm so proud to be a Canadian is the way we accommodate other languages and cultures in our society. Across the world, this is not always the case. I have experience in helping integrate the Korean community and other cultures into Ontario while preserving and celebrating our culture and learning hockey and Tim Hortons at the same time. Belleville is in the process of gradual demographic change. I would want to help celebrate our growing diversity and have people experience and appreciate what other cultures bring to our community. As a member of council, this will be a major goal for me. Strong Belleville through innovation and diversity. My name is Margaret Sue. Please vote for me.
Thanks very much, Margaret. Thank you. Okay, next up, number 8, we have Robert Labarge. Hello, Robert.
Hi, how are you?
Doing well. How are you doing tonight?
I'm excellent, thank you.
Good. So, Robert, the first question I will ask you directly, you'll have 1 minute to answer. Question for you is, how can the city improve recruitment and attraction of healthcare workers?
Well, I've thought about this on many different levels, and I have a couple of ideas, one of which I would like to see the mayors in our area get together and perform a video to be displayed in the medical schools with testimonials from doctors who have currently come here and how good life is here for them and how their practices are thriving. And we should be promoting those aspects of our communities and surrounding areas. What is available for recreation, what is available for entertainment, how they can enjoy life with their families here in Belleville.
Great. Thanks very much, Robert. Okay. So now, Robert, I'll give you 2 minutes just for kind of a general overview of your platform and any priorities you want to bring up.
Well, thank you very much. Hi, guys. My platform is pretty simple. I have made a career in manufacturing, in our area, and our manufacturers are hurting. They're needing skilled workers, which I have ideas on providing that for them. They are begging for employees, which is very destructive towards getting new industry into Belleville. We need to help them, and it helps with the homeless and the housing issues that we have, because it will attract better paying jobs. And with better paying jobs, you have affordable housing issues will start to relieve. I have a unique understanding of the manufacturing industry, unlike any other candidate here tonight. And that is saying that I know their processes, I know their procedures, and I know how they get things done on a daily basis. So when they start talking skills, I already know the ones they're looking for. On October the 24th, I'm asking for your support, and together we can make Belleville even better. Please vote Labarge and send me to council. I will work diligently on your behalf without reservation.
Thanks very much, Robert. Thank you.
Good.
Awesome.
How was my time?
You had a few seconds left if you want to say a couple last words.
No, that's fine. Just vote Labarge.
Thank you, Robert.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Great. Well, next we'll call up Nick Boretsky.
Thanks a lot. Hello, everybody. Thanks for being here. Super excited, and I've never spoken on a public stage before, so this will be interesting.
Here you go, Nick. Thanks for being here yourself. And for the first question I'll give you, which you have a minute for, random question I pulled, where is the greatest opportunity for the city to grow?
I'm super glad that you asked that question. So I think that Belleville, actually I'm gonna sound like a broken record because I mentioned this in my intro, but we're a waterfront city and there's nothing to do on the water. Garnet talked on this as well. I think we need to utilize our waterfront as much as possible and basically turn Belleville into not just a pit stop for the county. And we have actually very beautiful riverfront, but it's all just parking. And I think that's a shame. And if we utilize that more, I think people want to move to Belleville. I think young people will see a pride in growing up here. They won't want to necessarily move to other cities. And I talk to a lot of young people that don't really see a lot here for them. And if we make it more enticing, bring in more investors that want to have things on the water, see where the city's going, that's more economic growth for us that we can use for things like affordable housing projects, good tax money for that.
Perfect. Great. Thanks very much, Nick. So now I'll just give you 2 minutes to give a general overview of your platform and any priorities.
So I think there's a lot in Belleville that is a priority, but the most time sensitive, there's a lot that's time sensitive, but I think that utilizing our waterfront is the most time sensitive because if we infill the downtown too much now and build too much, we will now permanently set the parking as being on the water because you won't be able to go back and tear down buildings once you've built them. So we need to decide where we're going to put a parking structure, where we're going to do that on Pinnacle Street and open up the waterfront and allow that to be something else. It doesn't have to be all of it. It could be like 20%, but that's enough to have something in the back where people want to go, enjoy the water. A lot of the businesses downtown might utilize the backs of their storefronts more so that you have kind of a collaboration in the backs. And I think that obviously there's a lot more that's time sensitive, like the homeless situation. I think that's a huge concern. And I think that the city's doing a lot right with that, but I think location is an issue. And I think that if we look more at the location that we're doing that would be better. It should be an area with some green space, a little bit more land, so that as the problem gets bigger and there is overflow, they're not just on the street, on the sidewalk. You could have green space where you can expand a building. They could be growing vegetables, having independence, taking care of something. So those are some of my concerns that I have.
Awesome. Thanks very much, Nick.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Next up, we have Jeremy T. Davis.
Good evening, everyone. Let me start by saying how great it is to be back here at the Empire Theater and up on the stage. Talk about an inclusive community, and that's what I want to help build if you elect me on Belleville Council.
Thanks, Jeremy. Thanks very much for being here. Well, Jeremy, I have one question directly for you that we'll give you 1 minute for. Jeremy, that question is, what actions would you support to deal with homelessness?
Well, that's a great question, and one I get often at the doors. And what it is, we have to bring all the stakeholders and the different agencies to the table, you know, to have not only that dialogue, but we also have to lobby our provincial, federal, and other municipalities so we can get the investment for the homeless situation. We had to be prepared to meet with the construction industry, and so we can get new housing complexes like the Art Together housing, and that built. My uncles come from the construction industry, so I understand this very well.
Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you very much.
Sorry.
So Jeremy, I'll give you 2 minutes now just to give a general overview of your platform and any priorities you see for our city.
Well, my name is Jeremy T. Davis, as we said earlier and on the video. I'm a lifelong resident of the city of Belleville, and my priority is you. My grandfather inspired me for public service. He was a school board trustee. My great uncle was in municipal politics, so it's in my blood. Some of the priorities that I see facing our next council are housing affordability. We need more doctor recruitment. We need to enhance cultural arts and heritage and tourism to make it a destination, make it someplace that people want to stay, grow, and raise their family. You know, I didn't just start out running for council without experience. I have years of committee of council experience and in media and journalism, and I can bring my skill set to the table. So vote for Jeremy T. Davis on October 24th. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jeremy. Thank you. Okay, next up we have Chris Millette.
Hi, thank you.
Welcome, Chris.
Good evening.
So Chris, the first question for you, and you get a minute for this, is what are your priorities for infrastructure investment?
Infrastructure investment. Well, we've just come through the Build Belleville program where we replaced, well, everything around us outside this building for the tune of several $1 million, and where that was through debt funding. Our next priority, I think, for anyone who's walked the Bayshore Trail, lives anywhere east or slightly west of the wastewater treatment plant, we have a massive problem there. We're looking at $10 to $12 million in the short term to mitigate simply the odor issue down there. But seriously, what we're looking at is a 1960s era facility that's being asked to treat wastewater from, well, take a look around. Look at the building that's going on right now. We're building suburbs that are springing up everywhere. Every one of those homes in every one of those suburbs, you know where their pipes lead, so.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you. Thank you very much. So Chris, I'll give you 2 minutes now just for a general overview of your platform and any priorities you want to speak to.
All right, well, for those of you who don't know me, I've been in Belleville now for 45 years or so, and for 38 years of that, I was a journalist at the Intelligencer, the daily newspaper here in Belleville. And I was a reporter, photographer, later city editor, and for a number of those years, a columnist. But for a lot of those years, I covered City Hall. And I reported on and worked with mayors all the way from Ben Cork to Mitch Panchuk. And I've seen them all. I've seen some great things happen in City Hall. I've seen some things that are bizarre. And I wrote about them, and I lived it. But nothing too bizarre this term. I'm hoping it doesn't get bizarre next term. But one of the things I'm really proud of in our past council was the declaration of a climate emergency for the city of Belleville. Some people might derisively call that virtual signaling, that sort of thing. And what does it accomplish? Well, I'll tell you what it accomplishes. It accomplishes this city taking stock of every bit of carbon emissions that we do, every manner in which we can save use of hydropower and mitigate emissions. And we've got several great initiatives underway to buy more land if we can, similar to what we did at Bakelite. As chair of the Green Task Force, I'm proud of the work that we did in supporting that plan. And I put forward a proposal for city staff to try and come up with a perpetual fund, one that will be permanently in place to buy future green space lands to preserve natural areas for the citizens of Belleville, because we can build houses any day. We can't build trees. We can't build forested areas. We need to protect those areas for the citizens of the future. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Chris. Thank you. Okay, next up we have Kelly McCaw. Welcome, Kelly.
Thank you.
So Kelly, the question that I've pulled for you, you get 1 minute to answer. Where is the greatest opportunity for the city to grow?
Well, that's a good question. I would say housing, and more housing. We have seen the interest that other communities have had in our community. They've relocated here. They continue to relocate here. And I think as long as we continue on that path forward, continuing with housing, I think that we have a bright future here.
Great. Thanks very much. So I'll give you 2 minutes now just to give us a general overview of your platform.
Sure, thank you. Well, we were asked what one of our major priorities were, and in my mind, my major priority, and I feel is of most importance, is policing in the city, and most importantly, police officers. With respect to policing, I can tell you that the upcoming council will be forced to face a hard truth, and that is that our police service is falling short with respect to staffing as compared to the other municipalities. We have rapidly increased our population, and in doing so, we have outpaced our current complement of 94 sworn police officers. One of our closest comparators is North Bay, with a population of 51,500 and 112 sworn officers, approximately 450 residents per one officer. Our other comparator is Cornwall. Its population is 46,500 with 93 sworn police officers. That equates to about 500 residents per officer. But I feel most important is our city. And our population has grown to 56,000, yet we continue to maintain the same 94 officers that we have had for years, which is almost a staggering 600 resident ratio to one officer. Our calls for service are up by 14% over the last year, 16 over the last 2 years, and yet we're still working with less officers than our comparator municipalities. In addition, our dispatchers have not had an increase in complement since the 1980s, and it's significant, especially given the new NG 911 system that will require extra staff. Given the numbers and these factors, I'm almost certain that this will become one of the top issues of this council's first year. And if it's one thought I want to leave you, if any candidate tries to tell you that they can deliver a 0% tax increase in this upcoming term, I would say this: let's hope it's not at the expense of public safety.
Thank you very much, Kelly. Thank you. Okay, next up we have Sean Kelly.
Thank you.
Hello, Sean.
Hi, good job, Anthony.
Thank you. So Sean, this question has come up again. I'll give you this one. You have 1 minute. What initiative would you support to mitigate the climate emergency as passed by council in 2021?
Climate change, well, we're already on it. Climate change for this. We had the Big B Day in the city a few months ago with Quinte Conservation, Pollinators Day. We have an initiative right now with, I think it's the Quinte Naturalists, where we launched about a month ago, where they're out collecting cigarette butts. A group of volunteers. Doesn't seem like much, but that part of the climate change makes big impact. Just last weekend, the city, 800 trees were planted, and we talk about local partnerships, the Rotary Club. This past summer, we're out at Westwick's Park planting trees. We know the value of trees for our environment and what we've done with infrastructure as well, with some new lighting technology, heating, air conditioning. The city's on the way already with buses, electric buses. We see the cars lined up at the Quinte Mall with the, electricity, that type. It's coming to the city, and hopefully sooner than later.
Great. Thanks very much, Sean. So Sean, I'll give you 2 minutes, just like the other candidates, to give us a spiel about your platform and any priorities you would like to bring up.
First of all, one of my proudest, the proudest accomplishment, I'm a father of 2 children, Liam and Taylor Kelly. Taylor is a student at Carleton University in Ottawa, and Liam is a University of Toronto student. So that's my greatest accomplishment, and sometimes I'm surprised at my own accomplishment, having 2 wonderful children. I've loved this job in the past 4 years. I've loved it. I've loved working with my colleagues. And what do I see for the city in 2026? I can tell you what I see, and I'm going to be passionate about if I'm elected again to get back at that horseshoe. It's healthcare. $76 billion is spent in Ontario for healthcare, and it's in crisis right now. I took some notes over the last several weeks. Long-term care, I'm on that committee with Councillor Bill Sanderson, Hastings Public Health Board. I'm also with Councillor Sanderson on that board, and the Ambulance and Paramedic Committee with Councillor Chris Millett. $76 billion. Hospitals, 80 in Ontario shut down. Last weekend in Napanee, the intensive care unit was shut down in Napanee. I talked to the president and CEO of Belleville General Hospital, Quinte Healthcare, Stacey Dobbs. The stress of the shutdown in Napanee, and we heard Campbellford earlier this summer, is all coming to Belleville. So we have to lobby to government. We have to work with MPP Todd Smith. I've spoken to Todd numerous times about this, and we are going to get together. Stacey said she'd be a part of this committee. I spoke to Karen Clayton-Babs. She runs the nurse practitioner-led clinic in Belleville. 4 nurse practitioners, 3,200 patients. They have room for 2 more. And the Ontario government, the Ministry of Health, has not allowed that funding to come. Average nurse practitioner is $120,000 to get 800 patients. That's $150 per patient for them to work with. So we've got our work ahead of us. We're blessed in this area. It's a growing community, and healthcare is the #1 thing for me. Thank you. I wish we had more time.
I know. Thank you, Sean. That was great. Thank you.
I just wanted to wish everybody, now they're shutting the mics off like the Grammy Awards. Have a great Thanksgiving. Enjoy your family, and we're going to get to the next level together, and I hope I get your support starting on October 11th. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sean. Okay, last but not least, we have Tyler Alsop.
They didn't tell you it's going to be this bright out here. Hi, everybody.
Welcome, Tyler.
Happy to be here this evening. And I know you could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, so thank you very much.
Tyler, so welcome to the stage. The first question I will give you, that you will have 1 minute to answer. How can the city improve recruitment and attraction of healthcare workers?
Great, thank you for the question. I think one of the things that we need to do is we need to innovate to continue to be successful. When the doctor recruitment program was first put in place, we had first mover advantage, which means that we were out there in front of other communities recruiting doctors. Now everyone has adopted that model, and so we need to change the model by increasing the funding to bring in more doctors. I was a strong supporter of adding nurses and RPNs to that mix as well to give people greater access to healthcare professionals. And I think we also need to be more flexible with the contracts, allowing us to sign people as they're leaving med school and then forgive the debt that they've already incurred instead of signing people at the beginning of med school and paying for their schooling as they go through. The guarantee and the security is just as good, but we get someone who's ready to start practicing right away, and that way we get doctors more quickly into our community and working for us to keep the community healthy.
Great, thanks very much, Tyler.
Thank you.
So now, Tyler, I'll give you 2 minutes just to give us a general overview of your platform.
Wonderful, thank you very much. I brought notes to keep myself on track here. So I believe that the greatest issue facing Belleville is how do we effectively manage growth? Belleville is one of the fastest growing municipalities in all of Canada, and that growth can be a good thing, but only if managed effectively. That means increasing density in our urban areas with infill projects instead of creating endless sprawl, allowing us to preserve green spaces and natural habitats. It means developing our Loyalist secondary plan area with a range of densities, housing modes, and affordability levels while extending services to areas of the city nearby that have been left behind. It means increasing funding and promotion of our community improvement plan to incentivize more secondary units to be built and to allow developers to build more affordable housing. It means doubling our investment in the doctor recruitment program and including nurses and RPNs so that everyone can have easy access to the health care that they need. It will necessitate a full assessment of our social services, ensuring that we have the mental health, drugs and addiction, housing services, and transitional housing that we need for our vulnerable populations. It will require us to extend services necessary for the expansion of our now full industrial park to bring in more large employers, bringing jobs, development charges, and assessment growth for tax revenues. We will need to upgrade our recreational amenities, including tennis, basketball, and pickleball courts, as well as more walking, cross-country skiing, and cycling trails, and non-motorized boat launches for canoes, kayaks, and paddleboards. We'll also need to complete our transportation master plan to more effectively manage transportation in our city, including more connections for our active transportation network. And finally, it will mean making smart investments to our asset management and keeping our cash reserves high to replace or increase the capacity of our municipal infrastructure to accommodate this new growth while stabilizing our tax rates. We have an important choice. Is Belleville, Ontario a place to be from or the place to be? I've already made my choice, and from the 11th to the 24th of this month, you get to make yours. Please vote Tyler Alsop for Belleville City Council, and let's build a better future for Belleville.
Thank you, Tyler. Well, thank you. Thanks to each of you for sharing your perspectives and willingness to put your name forward. We wish you the best in the coming weeks, and we hope you find some way to continue to make your voice heard and share your passion for the community in some way. We will now pass it on to the mayors. Okay. Welcome now to the mayoral candidates. So we will begin this portion of tonight's event with an opening statement from each candidate. Candidates selected their seat position through a random draw at our chamber breakfast last week. The candidates' seating will be referenced from the podium, with the chair closest to the podium where Kyle is, designated as the first seat. Each candidate has 3 minutes for their opening statement. Again, Lisa Grills on the front row is monitoring. Watch for her yellow and red placards. Again, as the audience, if you see the red go up, your applause is our polite way of saying your time is up. Okay, so we will begin with the opening statements. Again, you have 3 minutes, and we will start with Kyle Thompson.
Thank you. So there's so much hope, opportunity, and otherwise for our community that, sorry, is that better? Yeah. There's so much hope, opportunity, and otherwise for our community that are not willing to get caught up, for those that are not willing to get caught up in the old ways of thinking. We all must remember, we have been told over and over again, there is a new norm or some version of such, and I would ask, how is that looking? We also desperately want to believe that this old norm still exists, and of course, when things become overly heated or elections come up, There oddly is always a calm, but once this is over, we are back to the same grim predicaments. Municipal elections are beyond important this go around for various reasons, but most importantly because of the fact that if we are going to endure and even thrive going forward, we need individuals that are going to push not others' ideas of progress, but our own community's idea of progress and interest. In order to do so, we have to have mayors or we can't have old mayors or past political figures that seem to lack the integrity or courage to stand up for their communities, or those that are unwilling to give so many a voice or forum to discuss their grievances or frantic concerns of despair. The knowledge that lockdowns, restrictions, and measures we took not only were known to be more harmful, but just how harmful and disruptive was known and documented long before they occurred. Even our government documented this and based a response on this. So they knew, and you guessed it, our mayor and other local officials knew this as well. And yes, this is disappointing and concerning. And it was dismissed and ignored by them. Instead, they would rather let our families lose their homes, livelihoods, and businesses. As members of our community and others prepare to address the inevitable continuing effects of this aftermath in the coming weeks, months, and yes, years, we all must ask what these actions, or better yet, what these inactions of those we counted on has really cost us and our children. Simply put, a large portion feel this mayor and others turn their back on the community, and they have the audacity to put a smile on and ask you to vote for them again without even an admittance or an apology. These statements outline the pain and suffering were preventable through our own studies and prepared plans, and are now beyond provable, and now the media and government have had to begrudgingly admit this. And it's time to do this same locally.
Great. Thank you very much, Kyle.
Oh, wasn't finished.
Oh, sorry.
We all want to have those smiles return to our faces and the inspiration of hope be our guide to a better community and more. We have collaborative power as a community and can make the right choices going forward to push forward rapidly and faster than we ever have. Or you can have these individuals tell you to wait for them in aisle 5 of their imaginary Costco. We can have all these things that our community wants and more, but the individuals can't give it to you, frankly. They never could give it to you. And frankly, I can't give it to you because the only thing I can do is foster and support and promote community.
Thanks very much, Kyle. That's great. Okay, and then at position 2 for your opening statement, Mitch Panchuk, you have 3 minutes.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for being here tonight, and thank you for caring about our future. It has been a real privilege to be your mayor. 4 years ago, I stood before you here on the stage and showed you my printed plans to build our future together with safe, responsible growth. And this document was laminated and placed on the wall in my office so I would remind myself each and every day of what I committed to you. And 4 years later, we can see that by working with council, everything set out has either been achieved or is well underway. And this election, I have a plan for the next 4 years, which we will address in the same approach. This term of council has shown you action which speaks louder than words, and the results speak for themselves. We've led the reason with residential and commercial growth while keeping our annual tax increases the lowest. We've improved our outdoor recreation and natural spaces while supporting our strong and vibrant arts, culture, and heritage community. We've set a record for capital budget spending while also investing the most ever in our vulnerable and social service sectors. And all of this and much more during the worst pandemic of our lifetime. I'm not seeking re-election because I need a job. I'm seeking re-election because I want to do a job which allows us to continue to change our city for the future. We need to continue to move forward in building our city and the services you rely on. This includes increases to police, fire, and other municipal services, and it includes continuing to move forward with our planned infrastructure upgrades. And this includes getting more housing built and to ensure that no one is left behind. You know, for generations, decades, generations of Belleville parents had no choice but to watch our children leave for a better future and careers. But now, we're proudly a hub in one of the fastest growing regions of the whole province. Now, we're a beacon for investment growth and job opportunities. We will continue to do this work that we've started. We will attract more investment to build our economy, and we will get the Belleville East Arterial Road built. Ladies and gentlemen, we can move forward with a better, more modern city, confident in our future. There's no need to go backwards. We can continue with the momentum of the past 4 years, confidently working to achieve our potential. I ask you to support me to do this job on your behalf. I look forward to your questions tonight, and I thank you for your attention. And I do want to take a moment to let you all know that the flag at City Hall is at half-staff today as we honor the memory of Jerry Boyce, who was our local historian and served on Belleville Council from 1991 to 1997. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mitch. Okay, next up we have Neil Ellis. Neil, you have 3 minutes for your opening remarks.
Great, and I'd like to welcome everybody here tonight. First of all, I had a chance to meet all 14 council candidates in the back room, and I want to give them a round of applause. It's a nervous situation for everybody to be up here tonight, and they did a great job. I'd first off like to start telling you a little bit about myself. I'm married to my wife, Sue. We celebrated 35 years, a milestone this year. I have 3 grown adult children, Zach, Maddie, and Abby, with Madison getting married on Friday. So I have my first daughter wedding on Friday and a rehearsal party Thursday. So I've thrown a lot at my family, and I do apologize for that. I'm a small business owner for 28 years, a 2-term mayor, MP, the first MP of the Bay of Quinte. Some of my council and I started the doctor recruitment program in 2010. Through that, in 2014 and 15, we were able to solve the doctor recruitment program, or solve it through the doctor recruitment program. Since then, our program has been modeled, and as Tyler mentioned, has been copied by many municipalities. It's time to step up and bring our program into the modern society. Quinte West has hired doctor recruiter. Prince Edward County has hired a doctor recruiter. The city of Kingston has recruited 9 doctors since they started their program in January, 9 in 9 months. It's time to budget more money. It's time to put staff resources towards this. Another thing as MP that we concentrated on was affordable housing. We built more affordable housing in Belleville, but not enough. There's great partners that we partnered with, but we have to look at the situation. Other projects that we're championing was Bell Boulevard for Costco. We have yet to see that. That was a $9 million. COVID startup money that built many parks, the dog parks, and all the parks that you enjoy were brought to you by the federal government. Through my term as an MP, my greatest feat was a private member's bill, Bill 225. That was to end veterans' homelessness by 2025 through Housing First. The government has taken action on this, and it's something that I'm very proud of. Why am I running? For the same reasons that I ran in 2010. We were short doctors, we were short 15,000 patients at then, and leadership. I bring a different style of leadership to City Hall. It's about not only empowering your employees, the senior management team, to speak freely and not to be afraid of the consequences. It's about to empower your council to discuss rather than debate. When we debate things, we have winners and losers. It's about discussion around the table and bringing the best public policy. I think we need to do, and a question was asked, and I'm going to answer this, about what the biggest infrastructure program that we need to do. I do support the arts, but I'm not in for building a $35 million arts center when our wastewater plant is pumping at least 3 to 5 partially treated sewage into our drinking water. It's time to take action. It's time to take major public infrastructure money.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you very much. And thanks to each of you for your opening statements. Okay. So we will now move into the second part of the evening where candidates will be asked a series of questions. The Chamber has developed these questions from community and member surveys, shared conversations, and at our Government Affairs Committee. Candidates have not seen these questions, but are likely familiar with the issues they've heard going door to door. In order to ensure candidates don't appear to be matched with a question, I will again draw each one as we go from the fishbowl. There are a total of 6 questions in this category. Each candidate will have a chance to be the first to answer 2 questions, and all candidates will have an opportunity to respond as well. So you will have 2 minutes to answer. Each candidate will have 1 minute for rebuttal, and then the initial candidate, if they wish, will have 1 minute to wrap up their answer. Again, responses are timed, so please continue to watch Lisa in the front row for your signal to hurry up or stop. So we're going to start again with Kyle Thompson. Kyle will be the first to respond to question 1 and has 2 minutes. The remaining candidates will each have 1 minute. Again, responses are timed, so continue to watch Lisa. And then Kyle, at the end, you will have 1 minute if you wish to wrap up the question. I will pick your random question right now. So Kyle, this question is for you. Again, you have 2 minutes. Waterfront, downtown, north industrial, where is the future going to grow?
I figured it's a two-part question. It's going to be downtown and waterfront. Those are the areas that, if we look at, those are the ones that are going to bring the most charm, the most culture, and the most vibrancy to our city. And I think we're on our way there. There's several ideas that are great, of course. And I think we're continuously looking at different ideas through different communities and whatnot. I certainly believe that we still got some work to do, but we've started the projects, and we have to fill those stores downtown with businesses and stuff like that as well. That'll make it, a better place as well too.
Great. Thank you, Kyle. So I'll pass it over to Mitch. Mitch, you have 1 minute to respond to Kyle's answer.
Yeah, thank you. Downtown is where I think we need to start on that. We just had a purchase of 110 acres, which is the first time in 40 years that we've had a facility such as just sold in the Northeast Industrial Park, and we're going to continue to work through the environmental compliance process to get more land there. But downtown is where I would start. And now that we have people that are moving into the downtown, that's going to be able to support the commercial base. The one thing though, and there's some discussion about what we should do with their waterfront. And at the end of the day, I believe strongly the waterfront is for the residents of the city. I'm not interested in selling off our waterfront to developers. We took great pains with the Porter development to make sure it was back set from the water so that we can continue to have our beautiful pathways and trails, and that is my feeling moving forward. Downtown and certainly protecting our waterfront is a key priority for me.
Thank you very much, Mitch. So Neil, we'll pass it over to you. Neil, you have 1 minute for your response.
And I'll make it quick here on a few. Waterfront development. Again, I agree with Mitch on this one, or I agree with him on this, that land should be held privately or held publicly by the city. Downtown infill, that was the plan when we did downtown, was infill the units. Industrial land, my council expropriated hundreds and hundreds of industrial land. We serviced it, it's all been sold now. My council recommended for the servicing of the remaining industrial land, but 2 councils have failed to do this. We are out of industrial land, we only have around 30 acres left, and this will take at least 3 to 4 years to develop. This council was warned about it, this mayor was warned about it, and we've had no inaction. So expropriated land, industrial land, we do not have service land, and we won't. So we won't have growth there for many years to come.
Thank you, Neil. So Kyle, if you wish, you do have 1 minute for a wrap-up comment.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty easy thing. Our community is going to push forth what happens in those areas and really voice their opinions. So I think that's the really important thing, is that the community is going to feel like they have a word or say in that. And I'm sure we'll all collectively make the right decisions to make that a beautiful place.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Kyle. We'll now move to start with the second chair. This question will be to Mitch. And again, then Neil will respond, followed by Kyle, and back to Mitch if he likes for a minute. So my question, or our question for Mitch is, what is your vision for environmental sustainability and green initiatives?
Thank you very much. Wow, this is a great question, and I think certainly our council has been the greenest in history in the city of Belleville. Not only have we been able to declare a climate emergency to ensure that we look at all of our operations through the lens of the environment to make sure we minimize things, we also are eligible for a number of funds that will allow us to help. We are moving quickly with the Lexicon Group, which is one of the electricity utility that City of Belleville is a part owner in. We want to electrify our entire fleet of transit. And we're very proud to being a bee city, to be a pollinator city, to plant all the trees. But perhaps the most important part of the legacy of this council is going to be the purchase of the Bakelite property. There's about 90 acres of land on the east end of the city, and we all know the history of the former factory that was there. About 45 of it is slated for development, and what we've been able to do is acquire the other 45. We purchased 8 acres and we had the rest of it donated, and this is going to allow us to protect our wetlands, protect our wildlife, to be able to allow residents to interact with it, and it is something that is going to be something for generations to come in the future. Other councils had that opportunity. They didn't take advantage of it. We did, and that is going to be the legacy of our council. And when we talk about the pattern for environmental sustainability, these are the things that I believe very strongly in.
Thank you very much, Mitch. So Neil, we will give you 1 minute for a response.
And this is top of my mind. My council, when I was mayor, we started the Green Bin program. We adopted solar power and built the largest rooftop solar-owned municipal plant in Canada. Other things we have to look at. We have to look at electrifying our transit system. When I was MP, in the gas tax and transit funding to the city of Belleville and this mayor, instead of buying and electrifying the grid for transit, decided to buy diesel buses. I think it's time to look at electrifying our grid, not only with buses, with transportation, with all of our grid. We'll have to look at building infrastructure for transit, not only for transit, but infrastructure for charging stations. And we have to look at, again, pollution that we pollute ourselves and make us carbon neutral. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. So Kyle, back over to you. You have 1 minute for a response.
Yeah, I think the environmental and whatnot, these are all projects and things that certainly, we put in our input, and I figured councillors and mayors and whatnot put in their input as well. But obviously, we understand where the expertise and that comes from. And I think a lot of the credit needs to go back to who does 90% of the work in those things and pushing those forwards, which is the individuals that work behind the scenes within our departments and whatnot. So I think it's important they get credit for a lot of this because this is what they do. And it's certainly very important, and it's interesting to hear all the great ideas that come up from our community and everybody else too.
Great. Thank you, Kyle. And Mitch, if you wish, you do have 1 minute for a response.
Yeah, again, actions speak louder than words. And this term of council, we've seen a remarkable amount of achievements across the board, including on the environmental file. And this council is the first one in 15 years to purchase new buses. Because of our volume purchasing program, we're able to buy 4 buses for the price of 3. And where I come from, that's a pretty good deal. And we will flip all the buses over to electrification when Alexicon and we are able to go forward with it. But at the end of the day, we've also been able to do all the work we've done this term, all those achievements, by maintaining our low tax increases, which I know everyone here appreciates.
Great. Thanks very much, Mitch. Okay, thank you. We will now move to start with the third chair. Neil Ellis will be the first to respond to question 3. Neil, you have 2 minutes. I'll draw your question right now. So, our question for Neil. How do you plan to support population growth through city services?
And I mentioned that in my opening. We are expanding and growth is exponential. What we have to look at is we have to have the services intact. And I believe Councillor McCaw spoke about it. Our city is growing, but yet we haven't put resources human resources into our policing or into our fire. Expansion is good, but there are problems with that. We have to have a plan. We have to have a plan on growth. We have to have smart growth. How do we plan for this? We have excellent staff. We have excellent planners. We have to realize that growth is going to go towards Quinte West. We have to plan with our partners. We have so much unserviced land that's on Sydney Street that belongs to Quinte West. In order to get growth, we need to sit down with other municipalities and see how we can do this together. Whether it's looking together on our problem on the wastewater plant and making a communal plant, a plant that is a district plant. We need to look at regional growth. We have to be with our partners in the county. We have to be in our partners in our social services agencies because growth causes a lot of things. And it's good to have growth to keep our population up, and it's good to have growth to pay taxes. But we have to put more resources to take care of this growth. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. We'll move over to Kyle. Kyle Thompson, you have 1 minute for a response.
Yeah, I think I might go a little off script on this one a little bit. I'm not sure what the growth, everyone's expecting this rapid growth to come. We have to be realistic. Everyone can see the real estate sales and everything are down and stuff like that. I think we just got to deal with what we have here. But I think we have to be realistic about what is around the pipe for us and all Canadians. And you got to take this two ways. One, if we continue going down or doing the same things and cheerfully telling everyone we are in such a great position, we, like every other community, are going to fall on our face. And this is really going to hurt this time. Or there is option two, ditch the old systematic, creative, draining franchise and corporate mentality and begin putting faith in ourselves and creating more independent businesses and driving things forward for our community. You know, this is the way that we're going to see that growth, and it's likely not coming the way that everyone's expecting it to be over the next couple of years. Doesn't mean it's not a great place, doesn't mean we can't do great things, so.
Great. Thank you, Kyle. So we'll move over to Mitch. Mitch, you have 1 minute for a response.
Yeah, thank you. With all due respect, we do have a very strong future, and we're going to see our population continue to grow, and that is what's going to allow us to continue to have our community be an affordable place. This year, we've made investments, strategic investments, $78 million in our capital budget for infrastructure and expansion of programs and other projects that are so important for the future growth. This is a record. This is more than double what it was when I assumed office, and it's because we're using our growth to pay for the future growth. We have an orderly process for expansion of infrastructure. One of the most important things that we'll be doing on the infrastructure side is the Avonlow secondary plan on the west end of the city, and a $45 million sanitary pumping station, which will allow us to unlock up to 6,000 new dwellings. We're making those investments now strategically for the future, and they will help us to be able to support the growth that we will have moving forward.
Thank you, Mitch. Back to you, Neil, if you wish. You do have 1 minute for a rebuttal.
And I guess, again, walking and knocking on doors, growth in subdivisions, and it's lack of services. Whether it's grocery stores, whether it's corner stores, we need to have smart planning. We need to plan neighborhoods that have facilities. Growth has put a strain on our doctor recruitment. We need to keep up with this. Mitch mentioned $78 million in capital. That's $40 million included in that for the biggest infrastructure project is Quinte Exhibition Raceway. That's the biggest infrastructure project ever taken on by the city of Belleville. There's wants, there's needs. We need to fix our roads. We need to fix our wastewater plant. We need to fix our pipes in the ground. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you to all the candidates. So we'll now reverse the starting order and begin with the third chair, Neil. You'll be the first to respond this time. Again, for 2 minutes, I will pick the question.
2 in a row, holy John.
Okay, the second question for you, Neil. How will you guide bylaw enforcement to support businesses?
And it's a good question. I think bylaw enforcement has to support everybody, just not businesses. And when I've knocked on doors, I've heard that bylaw enforcement needs more help. Right now, we are currently running, I believe, with 3 bylaw inspectors. We need enforcement. We need preemptive enforcement. Right now, we are dealing with phone-based or reported basing. We need to be more proactive in bylaw enforcement. We need to have boots on the ground, and we need to enforce things like residential housings that have been turned into rooming houses or have 10 or 15 residents living in them. This is what people want. People have been asking. And it's about yards, and it's about not taking care of them. That's what people want. So in all, I think bylaw support can support both. Can support business, and they're there to support each individual that needs them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Neil. We'll move over to Mitch. Mitch, you have 1 minute.
I hope we're going to be unanimous on this. We all believe in the need to increase our bylaw enforcement process. This term, we've added weekend coverage to it, and we need to do more as we move forward. The issues we're facing in our city are issues that are faced in every municipality in Ontario. The influx of the higher cost of rents and home prices have meant that more people are trying to find places to live, and they're sharing. And previous residential neighborhoods, family residential neighborhoods, where it was not uncommon, when they were first established, to have a family of 5 or 7, 2 parents and children, We're now having 7 and 9 and 12 in some cases, unrelated people living together. And that is a problem that we have to deal with. And it's a problem that's all across Ontario. And it's something that we need the provincial government to change their regulations so that we can better enforce them. But on the local side, whether it's supporting businesses or property owners, certainly we need to increase our bylaw enforcement presence.
Great, thanks very much, Mitch. Kyle, over to you. You have 1 minute.
Sure. In regards to the bylaw officers and whatnot, I didn't really realize it was one of the bigger topics that we'd be covering in that. However, it's obviously important. Those individuals are there for a reason. They help to keep us safe and help us to keep things organized and whatnot. So I'll say I'm glad we have them there. If they need more support, they obviously should get it, and we'll move on from there.
Great, thanks very much, Kyle. Neil, back to you. If you wish, you have another minute.
No, I'll leave it at that. I think everybody agrees on the podium that we need more bylaw inspectors and we need enforcement. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. So now begin with the second chair. Back to Mitch Panchuk. Mitch, you will have 2 minutes, and I will draw your question now. Our question for Mitch. Belleville is ranked highly on both a great place to live, but crime rate is rising too. Can you please comment on that?
Well, yes, and we're very, very proud of the fact that a lot of organizations are picking Belleville. They're recognizing what we've always known, which is it's a wonderful place to live. And when Maclean's magazine picks you as the 4th best place in the country to live, that was something that I know we're all very, very proud of. But we've had other organizations, Business View magazine and organizations that write about retirement living. A lot of places are recognizing the benefits we have. We, as the population grows, we're going to see the number of incidents grow as well. And so our police are keeping up with it. I would not say that our community is less safe today than it was before. We have some irritants that we have to deal with, obviously, we know that. But on the major crime severity index, we're doing quite well. The last thing I would talk about in terms of the need for us to invest resources in our Belleville Police Service is that one of the things that does make Belleville unique is not only are we on the commercial corridor, the 401, but we have a huge influx of people that come into the city every day. And they come in to do their shopping, to get their services. But it also brings in a criminal element that is coming to be around those people. And that's why it's so important for us to have a local municipal police force. And that's why I'm such a supporter of them, the work that they're doing. We're so fortunate to have Chief Callahan and the women and men who make up the Belleville Police Service. They care about their community. They live here in this community. And I'm just so proud of the work they do every day. I want to support them more. We need more police officers. We need more frontline resources. And I'm committed to delivering them.
Thank you, Mitch. Kyle, we'll move over to you. Kyle, you have 1 minute.
I actually, this is something I've been looking into quite a bit, and I have a recorded Zoom meeting that I'm having or coming up with a large Canadian service support group for individuals in these sectors. And frankly, I look to get a better idea where we are right now before making too many comments on this because I trust their judgment. People want to see officers do their job, and frankly, officers want to do their job, but many are leaving or becoming awfully jaded or frustrated with the fact that they can't. Numerous times I have heard officers complain that they go up and down our streets and see individuals with warrants out for their arrest, but they can't do anything because they are simply put right back on the streets. And this is insane, and not the way our justice system is supposed to work. And we need to fix this whatever fashion we can.
Thank you, Kyle. Mr. Ellis, we will give you 1 minute.
And I agree, Belleville's a great place to live. I've talked to thousands and thousands of people, and a lot of people are not feeling safe. Whether it's downtown, whether it's walking our streets, we need to put more resources into preventive and policing. As Councillor McCaw mentioned in her speech, our comparables, we need to put more boots on the ground. We need not administration staff, we need actual boots on the ground. I think that we need to reinstate when in our last council, or the council that I was put on extra funds for downtown policing and beat policemen. I've talked to many merchants and people downtown, and this is a program that worked and a program that I would be interested in reinstating. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. Mitch, we'll go back to you for 1 minute if you wish.
No, I think we all agree, so we're all good on that.
Perfect, thank you. So thank you. We'll now ask the final chamber question. Kyle Thompson, this question will be to you. You will have 2 minutes. And the question for Kyle is, priorities regarding access to public transit, both within Belleville and the region. Can you comment on that, or what your priorities are?
Can you repeat
Yeah,
that?
sorry. So what are your priorities regarding access to public transit, both within Belleville and the region as a whole?
Oh, okay. I didn't feel like.
Sorry, I was worded a little weird there.
Yeah, it's one. It seems like we're getting a lot of them, but anyways, yeah, you know, we obviously look at those routes and whatnot, and you know, once again, I'm going to talk about a lot about those guys in the background, because those are the guys that are telling us this is what we need. We can see it from development and whatnot. It's one of those. Honestly, I think it's a common sense thing to be serious. We obviously got to make the plans to do it when it's needed, but yeah, I just believe it's a common sense thing.
Thank you, Kyle. We'll move over to Neil. Neil, you have 1 minute to make any comments.
I look at transit as a regional issue, and it needs to be partnered not only with Quinte West, but we have to look at the county also. It's time to think out of the box and look at this as a region. We need to have test routes, and if we do, and these test routes are successful, we need to make these regular transit routes. But unfortunately, some people or some areas, it's not viable to have transit. Whether that's out in the far reaches of the Thurlow subdivision, people don't want to pay for transit in these areas. We need to look at main routes. We need to look at transit in our industrial park. And we do have a great transit system, especially with on-demand. It's one of the systems that is held into high standards in the city of Belleville and not only and across Canada. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil. Mitch, we'll move over to you. You have 1 minute.
Yeah, you know, I believe in access to public transit. I think it's important. If you are a city, it's important for you to have public transit. And, you know, COVID really impacted our transit numbers. In 2019, we were setting new records for total ridership. And then when COVID resulted in a huge crash in that, and it is coming back. September 2022, we're going to have these numbers released shortly. They are back to pre-pandemic levels, and now we are moving forward. We do have a regional transit system now. Quinte West is feeding into the Belleville transit system, and we're working with other municipalities, including those to the west of us, as far as Port Hope, to make sure that we have it. But transit is about leadership, and it's about understanding that the work of the Green Task Force, our declaration on climate change, all these things are important to take vehicles off the road, reduce our carbon footprint. Again, we are a city, we're proud to have a transit system. That's part of the higher cost of living in this community, but I certainly support it, and I want to see it expand in the future.
Thank you, Mitch. Kyle, if you wish, do you have anything else to say on the transit?
Yeah, you know what, I'm just going to comment on what Neil said there. If you're talking about basically having a connection between the regions, between Quinte West and whatnot, yeah, that's certainly a great idea. I got to say that's something we should probably look forward to down the road.
Thank you very much, Kyle. So thank you. That wraps up that section of the evening. We're going to move into a final speed round with 3 audience questions that'll allow for a 1 minute answer from each candidate. So we're going to start in the middle with Mitch. I just want to see where our questions are. Here they are. Yes, so this first question will be for Mitch, and he will have 1 minute. The question is, what is your plan to tackle homelessness, vulnerable populations who are living on our streets?
How much time do we have on this?
1 minute.
1 minute. Well, this is a very complicated issue, and it's complex, and it's one that's faced by every city on the planet, not just here in Ontario and Canada. You know, fundamentally, at the end of the day, the most important thing that we need to do to deal with homelessness is to get people off the street. You know, we deliver programs and services, and then we just leave people where they don't have anywhere to go. Our council was the first one to start the overnight warming center in the winter, and this year it'll be operated all winter long from December until the spring. We have spent this term $57 million is our share of the shared service agreement with Hastings County for the delivery of social services. On top of that, we spend another $1.2 million to organizations that are helping directly in our community. This is not just about the money that we spend, it's also about the effectiveness. And that's why I'm proposing a social services summit where we can bring everyone together and we can have our plan moving forward. We are already doing a better job than many communities our size, most communities our size, but we want to do better, and certainly that's what we have to do.
Thank you, Mitch. The next question will be for Neil. I will let Neil draw his question.
I just can't answer that question.
Got to change it up a bit. So Neil, the question for you. How should the city best support the arts and culture community?
Well, as I said before, I think that I do support the arts, but not at a price tag of $40 million. The mayor's arts luncheons, things like that, I do support, but we do not need an arts center to raise your taxes of approximately $200 to $300 a year. We have the private arts that we're sitting in here now. We need to fix critical infrastructure. We need to fix our water. We need to fix our drinking water. We need to fix our roads. I do not support building a $40 million arts center to raise your taxes. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil.
Money'd be better spent on homelessness.
Okay, so the final question from the audience is for Kyle. Kyle's pulling his question right now.
How do you balance needs of small business growth to international investment?
Let me repeat that. I'll just read it one more time in case you can hear it.
Sorry.
How do you balance the needs of small business growth to international investment?
Sorry, was it a healthcare question or?
How do you balance the needs of small business growth to international investment?
Yeah, I'm not sure what to say in regards to that. You know, international or small business growth to international, you know, I think we just, you know, I guess I could say this. Actually, I do have something to say about this. You know, collectively and collaboratively as communities, we can work together and actually make better businesses, make better opportunities and whatnot. And the focus on those types of things and the creativity that come from it is something that helps communities thrive. It helps communities build culture and whatnot in their area. I think it's certainly something we really need to support more. If we had better support for building or helping entrepreneurs, that would be a good thing.
Great. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you to all three of you. This completes the moderated debate portion of the evening. So we're into the final round here. We'll now give the candidates a final opportunity to offer their closing statements. Each candidate has 2 minutes, and we'll do this in the opposite order of the introductory statements, which means we will begin with Mr. Ellis. Neil, you have 2 minutes for your closing statements.
First, I want to discuss the elephant in the room. We need a mayor with integrity. Google Mitch Panchuk and integrity. The Coles notes, we had an integrity commissioner rule against the mayor for hiring his campaign manager. This mistake cost us $1 million. In the report, it says that it will be your funeral to his staff. 3 staff are gone, $700,000 in payouts, and his campaign manager still works for the city hall. Let's talk about the Tyler Allstop affair. I promise you, if a councillor needs to be replaced, we will go with history, and we will replace that councillor with the one on the next list. This mayor has doubled down on the Lauren Brooker show to say that he'll have an election. Elections cost money. Elections are over $100,000. Quinny West went through that, and guess what? They ended up with the same candidate. We need to look at housing first. We need to help the homelessness. We need to revamp our own doctor recruitment program. We need to look at budgets. We need better bylaw inspections. We need to discuss stuff. We need to not to debate stuff. We need to move forward in a positive way. We need to look at our resources. We need to stop hiring senior management staff. This council or this mayor is going to hire 2 seniors to at least 3 senior staff if he's elected. It's in the process. Over $180,000 a year. We need to put boots on the ground. We need more police. We need a better fight. We need more fire. We need people that work on our parks. We need to put a hiring freeze on senior management staff. And to go from there, we need to look at some serious partnerships with the federal government. Is yellow 1 minute or 30 seconds? Down to 15 seconds. So
15 seconds.
Instead of having a forum on homelessness, we need to speak to the minister, Minister Zane, and we need to have a meeting with all mayors in this region. We need to go to the federal government. We need to look at accommodations. Homelessness is not going away. We need a Belleville made-in solution.
Thank you very much, Neil. Appreciate that. Okay, over to Mitch. Mitch, you have 2 minutes for your closing statements.
Well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to thank the Chamber for hosting us tonight here, and my good friend Mark Rashad for providing this venue for us. And I'd like to thank you for your attention and for caring about our wonderful Belleville. One of the things I've learned in politics is that desperate people take certain steps, and you can always know somebody who really needs their job in terms of what they'll say. But what I also want to talk about, we're not a perfect city here in Belleville. While we have seen remarkable progress over the past 4 years, there is much more still to do. And 4 years ago, I laid out a plan, not just to guide us in our work, but to allow you to hold me accountable. And if you haven't gone through my campaign document, I'd ask you to pick one up or go to my website at votemitch.ca to see for yourself. It's a comprehensive plan for the future and one which will guide council and I for the next 4 years. The goal and the challenge before us is to build a better community. This past 4 years has shown you that I can be counted on and has proven that what I say will happen. Yes, we have come through this global pandemic stronger than ever, but now a looming national recession has many of us worried about our future. Our tremendous investments in Belleville have put us in an excellent position, but we must keep moving forward to weather the economic storms ahead. And my plan will do exactly that. We will build new housing, attract even more investment, and get the Bear built. We'll continue to invest in order to improve your safety and quality of life and ensure no one gets left behind. And we'll do this while keeping your tax increases low, just like we did over the past 4 years. I know you're proud of how we've handled the last 4 years. I hear you talking about our bright, positive, optimistic future. I ask for your vote tonight so that I may continue to work on your behalf, building our progress together. I ask for you to vote for me, Mitch Panchik, for re-election. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful evening.
Thank you very much, Mitch. Kyle, we will give you 2 minutes for your closing remarks.
Yeah, so, I questioned it when I was told, but I was contacted by a media source today. They basically explained to me, there's 3 questions. You will not get the answer. You will not get to talk about the homeless. You will not get to talk about healthcare, and you will not get to speak about, what was the other one? I don't know, but I was told I would not get to speak about these things. Absolutely not. And they said, this is just simply what you're going to see going forward. And, as you can see, there's a lot of cases where, in regards to media and that, they seem to want to push me aside. But there's a lot of groundswell around my beliefs, and mainly it's actually about everybody else's beliefs. And I understand where I am now. So, if we can look at one thing, I'm going to say that, collectively and collaboratively and as a community, I always say this, is that we are capable of so much. And we need to start looking at programs that actually promote this so that we can foster these programs and whatnot. The current mayor got 5,200 votes last time. 40% of you voted. 20%, or probably half of you, are not excited about where you are right now. And 60% of you out there have a choice. Give me a chance to make things right for you and put you in the right direction and give you a voice. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. Thank you to all our candidates tonight. We appreciate the passion for the city you have shared with us on the stage and your willingness to serve. I'll invite our CEO, Jill Raycroft, back for some final words. Thanks again.
Thank you all. I know that it's a tough go, and even if you're really well prepared, and I think you all are, it's still that moment of. And for anybody who thinks that these guys can come up here and do it without thinking deeply about what they're going to say, I have to say, I know that it's a challenge, though you carried it off well. So thank you very much for being here tonight. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Thank you for taking the time. I had a chance to thank the earlier candidates for being here and taking some time out of the election season, but it's a beautiful night. It would have been a great night for walking and knocking on doors, so thank you for being here. And thanks to the technical crew for the Empire for making it possible, and Loyalist College for taping it, so if anybody wasn't able to attend this evening, we will hopefully have the feed or the video available, if not by Friday, shortly after Thanksgiving, and that will be found at our Belleville Chamber YouTube channel. I also have to thank Lisa Grills, because either you guys were really fast or your clock was fast, but you kept the time on, and we are going to be done early this evening, so thank you so much for your paddle. Give her a round of applause. And actually, let's give these guys a round of applause. All of our candidates and the councillor candidates who are still in the audience. I want to thank our board, Government Affairs Committee, and I want to thank Anthony for moderating today's event. At one point I thought, maybe I should be running out there with some more water. Thanks to Susan, Tiffany, and Yona from the log cabin for assisting at the door, and Vic, our newest volunteer who's always there with us. He's also going to be helping us with Diwali on the 16th of October, so please join us down at Westwicks. Last, but by no means least, thank you for joining us to listen. Your vote in a municipal election has a great deal of power to determine the future direction of what happens, where you live, and how your tax dollars are spent. I hope the answers tonight will assist you with your decision when you vote. This concludes our evening. I wish you all well. Members of the media are now welcome to come and approach the candidates, and I think you might be around here for a little bit longer if anybody else has a specific question. Thank you.